Hey, Troop 99. I'm here with Mark. This is Mr. G, Scoutmaster here at Troop 99, and we are getting ready to go to Core Creek State Park here in Bucks County to complete the Orienteering course, or part of it, for First Class Requirement 4A and 4B. So Mark, can you read us what Requirement 4A is?
Using a map and compass, complete an orienteering course that covers at least 1 mile and requires measuring the height and or width of the
Designated
items, or tree, tower, canyon, or bridge. Center.
Excellent. All right, read Requirement 4B.
Demonstrate how to use a handheld GPS unit, GPS app, and on a smartphone or other electronic navigation system. Use GPS to find your current location, a destination of your choice, and route you take to get there. Follow the route to arrive at your destination.
Right. Okay, so it's very important to make sure you read the requirements so you know exactly what you're doing and you don't miss anything, right? So we are prepping to go. I have these maps. I have a ton of these maps if anybody wants to go to Core Creek and do this exact requirement. I'm going to show you real quick on the video on how to orient yourself and how to use this map so you can go to the course yourself and complete it. Okay, here we are. We're going to go over the map and how to use the compass and map together to complete the orienteering course at Core Creek. All right, so here's the map. Again, I have a bunch of these. You can just pick them up at my house on your way over, and you can do the course on your own. So you're going to need the map, a compass. You're going to need a tape measure, and I'll show you what you're going to use that for when we actually get to the park. Okay, so first thing you need to do is you need to identify your parts of the map. We have the legend up here. This is very important. It's going to show us what all these symbols on here mean. Our compass rose, so it shows us how the map is oriented. And these magnetic lines are very important too when we get there, because we can use these lines to designate north when we're using our compass. All right, these are magnetic north, which means I don't have to adjust the compass in any way. I can just use it straight up north. You don't have to do any other math to figure out based on where we are on the earth. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the start. I'll show you the start when we get there, but the start is right here, and it's at the boathouse on the map. So this little triangle in the circle designates the start of the course, and you could start the course. There's two parts of the course. There's the front part of the course, or the west side, and just the east side, which is over here. This side here is much harder to do. Requires a lot more skill to get through it. There's a lot of obstacles in the way. So for scouts doing this for the first time, it's best to do the first part of the course, which is the start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. If you want to test your skills, you can just jump over here to 7 and maybe do 8. The requirement says you only have to do 1 mile, and based on our earlier calculations, which I'll show you in a second, 1 through 5 will get you a mile. So if you do 1 through 5, normally you want to do 6. That way it'll take you back to the start and do a circle. You'll be good to go. So first thing you need to do is make sure your compass, which is the one I have, just make sure it's already set to north. This thing here turns to degrees. Make sure you're set to north. The other thing to remember is almost all the lines on this compass are parallel to each other, so whenever you need to use pick a line on here to orient yourself with the map, you can use any one of them to do that. So the first thing you need to do is figure out which way you want to go first. So we want to go from the start to number 1. We need to know 2 things to do that. We need to know the bearing on the compass in order to take us there. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put my compass and orient my compass to the direction I want to go in. Now I'm using the edge of my compass right here. I could use any line on the compass to do that. I can use this red line. I could look through. That's why they make these clear, so you can look straight through. Any line here will do. Okay, the other line that's important when doing this is in order to get a bearing, I need to orient my compass here with magnetic north on the map. So one of these lines here. So my compass is laying right on a line, which is right there. You can see it through the glass as a black line. So in order to get my bearing, I'm going to turn my compass here, and I'm going to line up the red lines on the inside, these red lines here, with that black line that's underneath, because I know that black line extends on this line for magnetic north. So once I do that, I just want to either get them parallel. It's either pretty parallel right now, or I could just move it over so it overlays on top, making sure the edge of my compass is still on start to 1. Once I do that, I now have my bearing. I can pick up my compass and I can look at the bearing, and it's right here. It's about 240. I'm going to call it 240 just from maybe not getting it quite as parallel. So I know I need, when I start my compass course at the parking lot of the boathouse, which is right here, I need to set my compass to 240. And then when I get to the parking lot, I'll show you how to take a bearing when you're there. But the reason why we're doing this now is Mark, what he's going to do is he's going to take the bearings of each one of these. So we're going to do that here at home, so it's much easier to do than in the field. And the other thing we're going to do is we are going to calculate the distance between each point. Right? In order to calculate the distance, we will use the scale that's right here. Right? The scale is in meters, right? And I know before I started that I know that my compass, got a couple different measuring units on this compass, but centimeters, 1 centimeter equals 100 meters. So if I line it up here, you can see each box is a centimeter. So 5 centimeters is 500 meters. So when I go to use that measurement down here, I know between 1, and I could just take the outside of the circle to outside of the circle. Right here, that outside of the circle to this outside of the circle is about 220 meters. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, well, I'm not going to do it. Mark's going to do it. He's going to take the bearing for each one of these from the start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to go to 7 today. Actually, we're going to go to 8. We'll see how far we get. We're going to go to 8. So he's going to take all 8 of these bearings, and he's going to calculate the distance in meters. Okay? So it's best to do all that at home. It's much easier. You can do this in the field. I do this in the field all the time. In fact, if you do these competitions, you won't know the course before you get there. You basically show it with a map, pen, and paper. Or you show up with a compass, pen, and paper, and they give you the map when you get there. But we're going to do this for our first time, so we're going to do all the calculations here. So when we get to the field, we can concentrate on how to take bearings with the compass, and we'll double check our bearings when we get there. Okay?
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
Okay, so Mark has finished taking all his bearings, and we wrote them down on this sheet here. Right, so we have the start to 1 is 240 degrees at 220 meters. We went ahead and calculated, because we're Americans here, we went and calculated that to feet. And what we're going to do when we get to Cord Creek is we are going to calculate this number into what our pace is. So we know how far, based on what our pace distance is, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there. We will know how far to walk to go 721 meters or 721 feet, which is 220 meters. That way we know when we walk from here to here, we don't walk too far or too short. We'll know about how far we got to go. And you can see we also calculated the number of feet as the crow flies, probably more than this, at 5,706 feet, which is about a mile, which will complete the requirement for this. But we also did a few extra in case we have time and we want to go a little further. You can see if you do even 3 extra, you'll go an additional mile for a total of 2 miles. Okay, here we are. We're at the start of the orienteering course here at Core Creek County Park. I said state park earlier, but this is the county park, Bucks County Park. The start is right here by this picnic table. You can see the starting post, and all the markers on the map are designated by these posts. Some of the posts are missing, so I'll show you where they're missing along the course. I've done this course a whole bunch of times, so I know roughly where all of them are, but I'll show you the ones that are missing along the way and how you can navigate around the missing ones. So the start is here. We're at the boathouse right here on the lake. The park right here in the parking lot with my truck. Just walk up to the table and get yourself oriented. So the first thing we're going to do when we get here is orient the map. So Mark, come over here, I'll show you how to orient the map. We want to know which direction, which direction the map is facing, so we know whether we got to go left. Of course, it's windy. So we know whether we need to go left on this path or right or straight or where we need to go. So there's two ways to orient the map. The first way is using landmarks, right? And we have a giant landmark here, which is this lake. Okay, so the lake is behind me, so I need to make sure, position the map so the lake is behind me, which is just like that. Okay, I'm in this parking lot right here, and that's where the start is. Right, the other way to orient the map, if you don't have landmarks, you're in the middle field or it's dark out, is to take your compass, put it on the map, right, just off it a little bit, line up your arrow of travel, make sure that your compass is set to north, and either use the compass rose and put north, line the two north arrows up, or you can use one of these lines here, which is also designating the north on the map. And then I would turn the map until my two arrows line up here, right here in the middle. And I know that that is north. Now, the other thing you gotta be careful when you're on this table is any of these metal bolts throw the compass off. So make sure you're not near a metal bolt so you know which direction to go in. So now the map is oriented just like that. So now I know that if this is the start, to go to 1, I got to go left in that direction, that way. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate our pace. So stay tuned for that. All right, so after we did the map orientation, we're going to calculate our pace, and this is important because knowing what our pace is will help us with a few other calculations we need to do along the course. Mainly how far we walk, how many paces we walk will tell us the distance we have went. So to do that, I have a tape measure here on the path. I just stretched it out, and with my buddies, they're gonna help me calculate my pace. And really, a pace is 2 steps. So what they're gonna measure is when I walk, as I walk, and you try to walk as normal as you can, because you're gonna walk normally across the course, where my right foot lands on the tape measure, I'm gonna pick it up and it's gonna land again. And we're gonna take them 2 calculations, and that'll say what my pace is. So we've already done this once, so my pace is about 5 feet. So every time my right foot is picked up and lands, that's a 5 feet distance. So I know how far, if I'm gonna walk 20 paces, I know how far that is. So boom, boom, 5 feet. Now it's best to do this, take a couple paces before you go on, so you're doing a normal pace as you can. You're not stretching the distance you're going or shortening it. So I'm gonna keep my head up. Mark, who's behind the camera, will mark where my foot lands and give me my pace.
Okay, family time, just turn around.
Okay, so before we get started on the Orienteering course, one of the requirements is to estimate the height of an object. And what we're going to do is, Mark's going to demonstrate this for me, is we're going to do the stick method to estimate the height of that big tree over there. Okay, and the way this works is, it's all about your point of view. So what we're going to do is, I'm about 6 foot, so we know how high I am. Mark's going to take this stick, and what he's going to do is, when I walk over to the tree, I'm going to stand directly next to the tree. He's going to take this stick, he's going to hold his arm out, he's going to take the top of the stick and put it on my head, and he's going to move his thumb to where my feet are. And then he's going to, from here, he's going to be able to estimate how many of this length it takes to get to the top of the tree. And if it's 2, that means the tree's 12 foot. If it's 3, it's 18 feet. And if it's somewhere in between, we can estimate. Okay, so I'm gonna do that now. Mark, you take the stick. I'm gonna walk over to the tree. You good? You know what to do? All right.
Okay, so it's like 5.
How many did you get?
5.
5, so it's 5 times 6.
30.
The tree's about 30 feet high. Okay, now we're ready to do the orienteering course. We're here at the start. Based on what we've done earlier, we know to go to marker 1, we need to set our compass at 240 degrees. Okay, so Mark, we're going to turn this to 240, and I'm going to do the first 2, and then I'm going to give Mark to do the rest of the course. So I have 240 degrees. Can you see that? 240. All right, and then what I'm going to do is this arrow here is my arrow travel. I'm going to point that. In order to figure out what my arrow travel is, I'm going to level my compass out, and I'm going to turn my compass until the 2 arrows here in the middle of the glass line up like that. And once they line up, I know that I got to go in the arrow travel. That's the direction I need to go in. In addition, we already figured out, based on map calculations, that we need to go about 720 feet. We know that Mark's pace is about 4.5 feet. So based on that, we now know how many steps he needs to take to get to about 720 feet. So he needs to take about 160 steps to get there. That's important, so we don't overshoot the mark. So when we get there, we know when we get to 160, we need to start looking for the marker that marks the first point on the course. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. Now my compass is set for 240 degrees. I'm going to stand next to this marker. I'm going to hold out my compass. I'm going to hold it up because I'm going to take an eyesight of where I want to go. Line my arrow up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sight mark. Basically, in the direction I want to walk, I'm going to try to find an object. I'm going to walk right towards it so I don't have to hold the compass up every time I'm walking. So I have a tree. Based on where I'm at, I'm going to go right by. There's a trash bin there. I'm going to go right to the right of that trash bin, and then right past that, there's 3 sets of trees. I'm going to pick the far tree. And as we're walking that way, we're going to try our best to get our pace. This will be easy because we don't have to go around any lakes or anything, so it'll be pretty much easy to do this. So we're going to go, once I get to that tree, I'm going to take another bearing to the next part as we go. And I'll keep doing that until I always have a point where I'm walking to in my vision. Make sense? All right, let's do it. Ready? Okay, folks, so we went from the start to 1. Now 1 is missing, but I know it is right here, supposed to be right here on the corner of this little triangle of bushes here. And you can verify that on the map, right? If you look on the map, there's a triangle of bushes right on the map, and the trail is right, it's right off the trail, right behind Anna, who's videoing us, at the trail there. Okay, so we know that this is it, and I've done this course a bunch of times, and I know that 1 is here. So if you're looking for 1, you're not going to find 1. Usually it's a post that'll be sticking up, it'll say 1 on it. Since it's not here, just come here and we'll take our next bearing, right? We came over this hill here, so we had to take 2 bearings to get here. We actually took 1 bearing at the start to that bench, and when we got to the bench, we did the same thing again. We pulled our compass out. It was still on 240 from when we started. We held it up to find the next point we were going to, and it took us right here. Okay, we got about 180 paces, right? So that was pretty. We went 160 paces, and we were pretty right on, right, Mark? About 160. All right, so we're gonna go to 2. So Mark, grab the compass. Where does 2 take us? What do we got to do for 2?
250 meters.
250 meters, which is about 820 feet, which that'll probably take us about 180 paces. All right, so let's set the compass to what?
260.
260. So Mark's going to set the compass at 260. Okay. We got to go 180 paces. And Mark, what direction and what are we going to aim for?
That direction.
Well, take the compass, line up the 2 arrows in the middle, right here. No. Like that. Now, that's the direction of travel, so let's face the direction of travel. Where you orient the compass, you face the direction of travel. There you go. Now, hold it up and find a tree or something we're going to walk towards.
There's a walk towards that thing.
What thing?
The pavilion.
Is that grill there?
Yeah.
It's like that grill and that tree. So we're gonna walk, we'll count our paces as we're walking there. We gotta go about 180 paces to get to the next marker. Okay? We'll see you there. All right, here we are. So Mark, we started at 1. He sighted us to this point here. Since we can't see over the ledge, we only came to here. So now that we came to here, Mark's gonna take another bearing. So Mark, compass.
Compass.
Line it up. We're still at 240. No, you don't turn the
240?
housing. We're still on 240.
Why is it on
Or
260?
260, I'm sorry. Line up the 2 inner compasses, 2 arrows. This is our direction of travel. Find something else to sight against. You can sight like the side of buildings too if you need to.
How about a tree?
What tree? Which one?
Behind the pavilion.
The tree behind the pavilion. Okay, and how many paces did we go? 90-ish, right? And we got to go 180. So we went 90-ish. We need to go 180. So we'll go, what's that? About 70 more steps. We'll get there. All right, let's go. Okay, we made it. Wasn't too bad. I think when Mark sighted at that last grill, he sighted the tree that's right over here. So we got pretty close. This is what number 2 looks like. There's a 2 on it. So from here, we're going to do another bearing. We're going to walk number of paces we need to get to the next marker. They get a little bit harder as you go. The first couple are easy. When you have to start going around things, then the pacing gets a little weird, but we'll see if we can work around that. All right, here's number 2. We'll see you at number 6. So we've done this. We're at 4 now. 4 has a missing post as well. So what we're going to do is, and I know it's here because I've done the course before, the pole knocked down, but I know it's right here off this picnic bench. It's over here. So what we're going to do is, because we don't know exactly where 4 is, and we need to know exactly where it is in order to do our bearings. What we're going to do is we're going to walk over to that pavilion over there, and off its corner, we're going to take a bearing to post 5. There we go. Oh, there, it's in focus now. So Anna took a bearing from the pavilion. She's using, right, yep, that's where her finger is, to 5. She's made the lines in the center of the compass parallel to the magnetic north lines on the map. So now we have our bearing. So now we could stand up. It's about, what's that say, about 80 degrees? Yep, so now we're gonna stand up. Now she's gonna take her bearing. She's gonna line up the 2 arrows in the middle. She's gonna find a mark way out there in the distance, Anna, where we're gonna walk towards. And it looks like we're gonna have to walk in them woods right there. So when we get there, we'll have to see if we can't find a path, and maybe we'll have to take another bearing, but we know it's back in them woods. See you on the other side. Okay, we made it back to 5. This is the post here. It's back in a thicket where all the cats are, so that's a big hint when you're trying to get to 5. It took us a little while, it didn't take us too long, but we just had to navigate our way back here because we couldn't take a straight shot back in here, so you'll have to figure that out as you go. The other thing, as you're going, each one of these posts, as you find them, has a number on them. My hand's covering it, so the number proves that you actually got here when you record the number down. So if you're doing this course on your own, to prove that you've done it, just record the numbers on the posts that are there. The Scoutmaster will know you did it. See it. Okay, we've just finished our compass course. We did the first 6 points at Cord Creek here in Bucks County. So if you want to do this course, just a few tips. If you get yourself lost between posts, and you're not sure in what direction you need to walk in, always know where you're at in relation to the lake. The lake is hard to miss, and it's usually in sight to everything you're doing on this side of the lake. Tip number 2 is, if you're getting lost, make sure you find a structure that you know where you are on the map, and from that structure, take a bearing to where you need to walk to, and you know exactly where you're at. Another tip is, if you definitely can't find the post, go to a structure that's right near the post, and then take a bearing to the post from that structure. Because the further away you take the bearing, the larger the error is if you're off by a few degrees. If you're really close, the margin of error is really small, so you should be able to find it. Again, this is what the posts look like. If you want to do this course, several posts have numbers on them. Record them numbers and send them to me, and that way I know you did the course. And the last thing for safety is make sure if you're dropping your scouts off here and letting them run, that's fine. Make sure they're with a buddy, and make sure that you are within a cell phone call away. They're all in these open fields, so it's pretty hard to get lost, especially if you always keep in mind where the lake is and where the parking lot is in relation to the lake. Okay, so if you want to get first class requirements for orienteering and GPS, then come to Core Creek.